Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families.
A big warm welcome to everyone and a huge thank you for joining us for the Australian Book Lovers podcast. Our mission is to bring fabulous Australian and Indigenous literature that spans a whole range of genres to book lovers around the globe, as well as fantastic resources and information for passionate authors looking to write their next bestseller. I'm Laurie Bell, science fiction and fantasy author, flash fiction writer, short story writer, reader, and your co-host today for the podcast, coming to you from Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country. Hello, Veronica.
Hello, Laurie. And I'm also on the fabulous Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country, which is still cold. We're not getting much of a spring rather. But anyway, Veronica Strachan, aka V.E. Patton, memoir, picture book, fantasy, sci-fi writer and reader of any genre, really. I'll give anything a go, although my favourites are fantasy, sci-fi, crime. What else? I don't mind the odd non-fiction. I must admit, I do read a fair bit of non-fiction in terms of leadership and positive psychology and that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you got a book like that, it could be up my alley.
Few books.
The odd contemporary one, the odd romance. So a little bit of all of those.
I relate. While I focus on fantasy and science fiction, definitely I will go a contemporary YA, or I'll go a middle grade book, which are fun. They're just
do
fun
like those,
books,
yes.
and we'll read a fantasy romance. I'll try most things, honestly.
Yeah. So if it's not in your usual range of things, what attracts you to a book?
Do you know, that's a really good question. It will sometimes be word of mouth.
Yeah,
So
so recommendation.
If someone's
think you love it.
Exactly. Certainly through our Aussie writers, because I see books up on our site and think, oh, actually, that one looks really good. I might get my hands on that one. Could be a cover, bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Goodreads is having their book of the year in all the genres things, and I haven't read as widely this year. I do listen to a lot of audiobooks as I'm doing around the place. But I was looking at the science fiction covers, and I've got a manuscript, as you know, a science fiction manuscript. But I was looking at the covers, thinking, wow, they are quite different. They're not as similar as they used to be. You could go, that's a science fiction one without even really looking at it. It's got a spaceship, it's got the sun coming out, it's whatever, it's got somebody in combat armor, or all those kind of things. And while there are still those there, I was really interested that the range of things, people choosing to have unique covers was there. And I thought, that is interesting.
And as you say, not focused on necessarily spruiking the sci-fi nature or the fantasy nature of the book, which is interesting because I catch the train to work. So I'm out in public, and the train is a great place to see people reading and those that are not on their phones or their ebooks. And you can see quite often the covers will be up. And you can't really pick these days by looking at people reading as to what type of book they're reading. which
Yes.
I find is interesting. And actually, a friend of mine in the US, she has two different covers for her books. So she
Mm.
has the book covers for the real romance lovers, and then she's got a more plainer. I'll go with plainer, but it's more of a so no one can particularly tell that you're reading a steamy romance on
Okay.
the train. And I thought that's actually really
That's clever.
interesting
Yeah.
because it shows that there is still a perception and judgment on what people are reading based on the cover. And it's interesting to
Yes.
hear you say that a lot of the covers are more generic in that you can't tell what genre
Yeah.
necessarily that they
Yeah.
are. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It is
Mm.
interesting. Yeah.
I did notice a few people had popped up on social media how it would be amazing if Goodreads actually had a category for independent or small publishers, because
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
do look at the categories, they are very top five big publishers. And it's interesting. I would wonder if there's a slight bias
Just a
with
little
the
bit.
Goodreads list
Oh, yeah.
in the
Because
sense
who
of
owns them? Amazon?
Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I'm sure there would be people recommending, because you have to, before the list goes live, the short list goes live, they
Mm.
actually have a box for you to nominate
Mm.
your favorite books for the year. And that's where they pull the list from, supposedly. But I would be sure there'd be a couple of really good indies that go up on those
Mm.
lists that
Mm.
it'd be great to have a whole category for indie authors or
Wouldn't it?
small publisher
Yeah.
books, because there are so many good ones out there.
Mm.
So, but anyway,
Interesting. Interesting.
anyway.
Anyway, so I'm going to
Do you have a word?
think about,
Yep.
yeah, think about a checklist from the fabulous
I'll do
eight.
it.
So I wondered about the unpredictability checklist.
Yeah.
So this is from K.M. Allen's writing and editing checklist. All very useful, taking your book from first draft to publication. So the unpredictability checklist, and I really like that in a story when you go, oh, wow,
Well, didn't see that coming.
didn't see that coming. Mind you, as I've said before, I'm not great on the crime ones. I go, what the, where did, yeah, anyway. When you think of a compelling read, the fact you couldn't see any of the twists and turns coming is probably one reason why you couldn't put the book down. Yep, I'll put my hand up here. Unpredictability is a fun feature to come across as a reader and something any writer will benefit from in their own work. And here's how you can add it. So what the headings of the sections are: double down on the doubt, play into the familiar before flipping it, and give everyone what they deserve, the good and the bad. And that might lead into a nice thing on the good and the bad.
It
Somebody
might.
I know has got a story called The Good, the Bad, and The Undecided. So let's have a
right.
look. Let's just dive a little deeper into double down on the doubt. So making your readers doubt a character's motives, actions, or the truth in a story can make your book a page turner. And you had to take it to the unpredictable level is to double down on that doubt. As an example, imagine you've hinted at the actual killer, dropped everything on the most obvious suspect, but also left some doubt about if it's really them by focusing things on a side character too. The reader thinks they've got it all worked out until the closing chapters where you double that doubt and suddenly everything points to your main character being the true villain. No reader will know where the story's going after that, and you most likely blow their minds. So there you go. And of course, Kate gives you some ideas of how to do that. And the other one I do quite like is that, give everyone what they deserve. Sometimes our main character, even if they're the star of the story, does grey area stuff. No human's perfect and well-rounded characters have flaws. And if your main character's done something that deserves repercussions, don't ignore it. Don't let them get out of it and act as if everything is sunshine and rainbows because the hero always wins. Because that's a little bit boring, I will say, if the hero always wins. And if it's too predictable and they get everything that they want, I think, yeah, a bit disappointing. Because I do like morally grey characters. I do like characters that make mistakes, particularly if they have made mistakes, similar mistakes before, and then get the insight. Just go, oh,
Yes.
okay, I'm see what I'm doing to
Learn
myself
from
here
it.
or to them, and then learn from it. Yeah, because being a coach, I can't help myself. I want people to improve their lives and get on with things. But anyway, so that's the unpredictability checklist. Play into the
Fantastic.
familiar before flipping it. add something unpredictable, ingeniously foreshadow it. So yes, and the related ones, of course, the plot twist checklist, the foreshadowing checklist, and the assumptions checklist. So have a read of this great writer's resource, which is writing and editing checklist. And Kate also has another book, which I've only got the ebook copy of the other book though, so I must get that out and have a look next time. And the other one is the DIY publishing
Toolbox.
toolkit.
Yeah,
Toolbox.
no, toolkit. It is
Toolkit,
tool.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Which we've just published the episode, and that is again some
Very
great
useful.
things to look
Oh,
at.
so, so useful. So, because as we've discussed many, many times, the world of an author is not just writing a book, even though
No,
you wish it was.
mm,
And I want to write the book, and the book goes out. Yay! That it's definitely not that
it's not.
easy by any means. And
No.
speaking of, so there is a website called BookBub, which a few people would know. And if you're an indie author and you don't know about it, maybe investigate it, have a look.
And if you're a
And
reader, get yourself onto the BookBub
yes,
site because I get free or very cheap books that I
and
can whack onto my Kindle and fantastic.
absolutely. And that's the thing. They feature books, particularly when they're on discount, or brand new books that have been discounted for the release week, or you can track backlists where it'll pop up if they've put a focus on it or you've dropped your book with a discount. And they have this part of that, which is a featured deal. And I've been hearing a lot about the featured deal for a while, and I know it's very, very hard to get on to the featured deal. So I'm very excited to be able to say that I actually have a featured deal coming
Woo!
up next week, which is really exciting. So it goes out in their newsletter and it also features on their website. Unfortunately, the little hiccup that I've found this week is when I discounted my book, and it's Whitefire that is the featured deal, and it is on discount at the moment up until Christmas. So have a look if you the ebook. I will stress these are ebooks only through BookBub. Yeah, really exciting. And then found that through my distributor, I could update my new price. Doesn't mean that the sale websites are going to drop your book to the price that you want it to drop to. And the only thing with BookBub is you do have to guarantee that the price will be dropped to the price that you say it's going to drop, so that when they feature it, people can go and grab the book for the featured price.
Mm.
So I did have to change my setting for it, and they were wonderful. They were so quick to respond to me, which has been fantastic. That my person that I've been dealing with through BookBub, she's amazing. But she did set it so that it's technically US only because that
Mm.
was the price I've been able to update. It's discounted on all sites, so Aussies can still get it at a discounted price, but it's not discounted to the 99 cents I was hoping it would be discounted to. So if you've got an ebook that is through another country, jump on it now because it's on sale until Christmas. But otherwise for Aussies, if you're wanting to get a hold of it, it is discounted on most, the ebook is discounted on most sites. It's just not dropped as low as I would have liked it to for the specified time. So good thing
And
to note
good thing to note.
for
Plus,
indie authors out there.
we should have, of course, had a look at
Mm.
given the blurb for
Yes.
Whitefire. Let me just
Yes.
get that out.
And as a
Because it's
little
a Tony
side
Dell
note,
adventure. Yeah, go ahead.
I've also dropped the companion book, The Good,
Uh-huh.
the Bad, and the Undecided, which is the short
Yes.
stories set within Whitefire itself. That's also discounted on US sites, absolutely. Some UK sites, some other sites. I
Yeah,
tried. I've
yeah, no,
tried.
interesting. But that's look, it's a good start because we did that. We had that article of how to get a book bub a few episodes ago, and that gave you the
Yeah.
idea, and you jumped on. So this is what you do.
Yeah.
So Whitefire is in fact a Tony Dell adventure, and everybody lies. Watch your back. Sure, Agent Tony Dell has trust issues. Mate, I love that. Her canine robot partner, and Zach, her attitude-enabled chip or computer intelligence interface, constantly tell her that. But as she told them, That was because of the smuggler. She would have refused her new mission altogether if it wasn't for the insane amount of money. Oh, who was she kidding? Danger, betrayal, secrets, lies. These were all the things she loved about her job. She just didn't expect the smuggler would be involved. If she'd known that, she would have told her boss to jump out of an airlock in space without a suit. I love her attitude. So she takes the mission, find and stop a new weapon being manufactured and smuggled into the hands of criminal elements all over the galaxy. And hey, while she's at it, can she also find the missing weapons designer linked to these shipments? The only problem is she has to rely on information provided by the smuggler himself, and he may not be the only one capable of betrayal. Da, da,
Da, da,
da.
da.
Yeah, so if you want Wildfire, now
Yes.
is your chance. Jump on, get the ebook.
Yes. So, yes, unfortunately, the print on demand, no, that's same price, but the ebook has been discounted, and so has The Good, the Bad, and the Undecided, which
Beautiful. Get
is
on,
a bunch
read
of
it,
short stories.
leave a
Yeah.
review, tell two friends,
Leave a
read more
review
Aussie
would be
books.
great.
Indeed.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought it was good knowledge to share in the sense of the admin side of it
Mm,
for our indie authors out there and also for new writers and new authors that there are many opportunities to promote your book. It's not my strong suit, so this was a great idea for me, but came with the hiccup of not being able to discount the price on all sites. So
yeah.
worth knowing.
Yes. And you'll let us know how you go. You did mention
Yes.
that you've already made a couple of sales as soon as you've put the price
Yes.
down. So
I'm
that's a good
excited. I
thing.
mean, I'm excited, but I get that people are buying cheaper books now. I 100% get that.
Yeah.
It is a cost of living situation. And you know what? If you're reading, read. I am very happy for anyone who wants to read the book to read it, even if it's discounted, even if I get nothing for it.
Yeah.
Read. Reading is great.
And leave a review. If I'd get a free
Yes.
book or a cheap book, I always try and leave at least a star,
Yeah.
or
Leaving a
a like or
star, couple of
something.
stars. I mean, 5 stars. Go
5 stars
for it.
is good
Uh,
if you loved it.
but definitely telling someone if you
Yeah.
did like it is
Yes.
always
Tell
a good
two
thing. And you
friends.
know what? If you don't like it, that's fine too. If you don't finish it, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Have to necessarily leave a review if you don't
No.
like it. But,
No.
I'm never going to make anyone read a book that they don't enjoy. And that actually leads me into my news for this week.
Okay. Let's go news.
Speaking of the Australian Reads website, they've got some more articles this week coming on from what we were chatting about, Veronica, last podcast, with the fact that social media ban is coming in Australia for kids under 16. And the Australian Reads have come out with two articles just in regard to how reading has dropped due to social media increasing, and that children and teens are missing out on the benefits of reading due to social media use. And they're also questioning, which was my question in our last podcast, with the social media ban coming, how can we encourage kids and teens to get back into reading? So jump onto the australiareads.org.au website. There's two amazing articles about that. But one of the things I actually, oh my God, in one of the articles, it actually talks about the stats of social media increasing with teens and also their enjoyment of reading, or have they read a book, recently stats. You will be terrified to hear that everyday use of social media has increased in Australia from 26% in 2019 to 85% in 2022,
Mm.
which is kind of a scary stat because you would know yourself, the more people are on social media, I have this problem too. I'm not reading as much because I'm on social media as much, to the equivalent in the opposite. So I've had to cut back on my social media use to increase my reading time. There's also a stat that came out from South Australia that teens who never read for fun, Hurtful. Teens that have never read for fun has increased from 10.8% in 2019 to 52.6% in
Mm,
2022, which is
that's
a
scary.
huge list. And overall, female students spending more time on social media than males, while males experience more pronounced decline in reading, which you sort of see with the genders as well. But it really shows how hopefully the ban might bring kids and teens back to reading. But then if they haven't been reading for 3 years,
Yeah,
how
and
do
they
you
don't see
remind
reading
them?
as enjoyment. Yeah.
How do you remind them that it's enjoyable? So, two great articles. I very much recommend that you have a read of them. A couple of suggestions that one of the articles is to help them find their next great read. Let children lead and don't judge, which is something we've talked about quite a lot. Building their confidence, embracing all formats, which is exactly the same thing that I'll promote all the time. Any book, any reading, including audio books, is reading.
And
It's
graphic novels.
graphic novels, comic book, everything is reading if they're enjoying it. So
Yeah.
let them read
And
what they want.
including quiz books and those kind of things, because it's all
Absolutely.
about words.
Yeah, and
It's all about getting more words into people's brains.
a couple of nieces that they love nonfiction.
Yeah.
My go-to would be to buy them a fiction book, but once I've learned that, it's like, okay, great. What do you want to learn about? What nonfiction do you want to read about? Let's grab some of those. So let them read what they want because that's when they'll find the enjoyment with books. Also making reading social and demonstrating how it's done, showing how it's done, which again we've talked about a lot. It's that
Yeah.
demonstrated reading. Have a
Yes.
have a book, pick up a book. Parents
Yes.
and
Yes.
grown-ups and
And
aunts and uncles and
at your
grandparents and
work,
everyone.
at your work, do a book
Yeah,
swap table,
yeah,
which, all of our sites of the hospitals have all got some of, in staff areas and certainly in the residential aged care, there's books people can, switch them out. Somebody brings you a book, they read it and they put it down and you can swap out another one. So that's
as
good.
we've said,
Yeah.
my nana put big ones for any book they could get their hands on. So, and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
demonstrated reading helped me. So
Yes.
do
Yeah.
it, do it for them, but also do it for yourself because, as they say in one of the articles, it benefits mental and physical well-being, reduces stress, assists with sleeping, and lowering the risk of anxiety and depression. It also has significant cognitive and developmental benefits, including increased language exposure for kids, and literacy skills, and emotional competence, and academic achievement. So, and that's for grown-ups and adults and parents too. It's great for taking yourself out of your everyday stress and just getting lost in a book.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It
Reading's
is.
great. Reading's great.
I can't understand why people don't do it, honestly. But anyway, that's
So that's my
us.
news
That's good
for
news.
for this week.
Let me share
Mhm.
that. Oh, no, I had that open.
Mm.
The ASA and Harlequin have
Oh,
just given us early notice
oh,
about the entries will be opening soon for the 2026 ASA HQ Fiction Prize, which
hey.
offers one winner a publisher contract with Harlequin Australia for $10,000 advance against royalties, but still, it's $10,000.
Mm.
And entries open on the 26th of November, which will, I'm sure, be after I've got this edited and out because this is be a little bit out. So that is a good one. So keep your eye out on the ASA website in Harlequin, Australia. Stories Matter. New South Wales leads the country. Come on, Victoria. That's the country
Come on, Vix, get up there. We're
with
inside. It's cold all the time. It's
yes,
raining. Read
it's
more
good. That's
books.
right. It's my eldest was in Sydney, and I said, "Oh, it's 14 down here." She goes, "Oh, it's 27 up here." I said,
Mm.
"Great, great, okay." Stories matter. So there you go. The Minns Labor government delivered on a key commitment to support and grow the creative industries in New South Wales with $3.2 million to deliver a writing and literature strategy, the first ever dedicated literature and writing strategy Stories define our identity. Reading and writing underpins educational success and promotes social cohesion, builds empathy, and cultivates critical thinking, as you've mentioned, all of those
Yes.
things.
Mhm.
So the sector also generates around 1.3 billion annually in publishing and retail activity, supports up to
Mhm.
22,000 jobs, and delivers
Mhm.
global recognition through right sales, screen adaptations, and tourism. Yet,
Yeah.
writers on average earn only $18,200 a year from their creative practice.
Or 100. You
And
know, it's
yeah,
it's
it's
it's it's
yes,
six,
it's
seven, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But I thought that that was a really good paragraph to share in that it's not just writers earning their wage, but it's also publishing and retailing. All of those $22,000, and that's just in New South
As you
Wales,
say,
yeah?
it's the artists designing the covers, it's the editors, it's the proofing, it's the there's
Marketers, shop
so yeah, the
assistants,
marketers,
yeah,
shop
yeah,
assistants, the bookstores that we
delivery,
love.
Australia Post, all
It
of that.
supports everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So briefly, the five strategic pillars that they're looking at are reinforcing their foundations, partnerships and co-investment, investing in authors, making it a sustainable career, promoting reading, yay, use the library
Yay!
network, schools and festivals to connect readers with authors. So writers in New South Wales, get yourselves, behind this. Strengthen the ecosystem through strategic partners with schools, universities, libraries, cultural institutions, etc. So expanding opportunities, as you mentioned last time we were talking about this,
Yeah.
and address the structural challenge. Introduce freedom to collect legislation, advocate across jurisdictions to support the sector. Oh, and wait, $100,000 to strengthen Western Sydney literature organisations, 500,000 for a literary fellowships fund, and 225,000 for three co-funded Writing Australia collaborations, and 200,000 for First Nation writers, Publishing and Professionals Development Fund, and 630,000 for research and pilot a program to improve women, girls, and gender diverse people's access to libraries and the surrounding precincts. So that is a good news story to share.
Absolutely. And of course, we know through Dr. Alexandra that the toolbox came through research through the universities.
Yeah.
So
And thinking that just the big what do you call those things? The big capital
yeah,
cities, and particularly Sydney and
yeah.
Melbourne is where all the publishing happens, but it
The
doesn't. It happens
regional
out there.
areas, that's
Yes.
right, exactly.
So
Everyone's
stay in
right.
touch.
Everyone's got a book in them, and
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether you're in regional or the
Yeah.
cities. Book
Yeah.
book books and writing is for everyone, and so
Yeah.
therefore we should cater to everyone.
Yes. Yeah. So get yourself on some of those newsletter lists about, notifications about Creative Australia and a
Yeah.
few other bits and pieces so that you don't miss the opportunities like the one from Hawkeye Publishing, who have a manuscript development publication prize. The entries are now open. I think they're
Hmm.
up till the 12th of December. And they're looking for bold new voices, unforgettable stories across genres. So the winning entries not only receive recognition, but also the chance to be considered for publication with Hawkeye Publishing. So
Right.
this is what got me on this one.
Mm.
Don't let your manuscript sit in a drawer. Enter the
Yes.
prize. Find the link in their bio. So that's Hawkeye books.com.au. Have a look at that.
See, what we need
Um,
is a BookBub version for Australia
yes,
so that
yes.
we can then have our books being read by
That's
Australians
right. If I went
at a
Tesla,
discount.
maybe that's something you and I could start, Laurie, but not without a Tesla because we've got to keep paying the bills, posting the books. All right.
Absolutely.
That's enough news. I think it's
Mm.
time for book spotlights. I can kick us off with Matter of Time by Daniel Caine,
So
which is a sci-fi science fiction.
good.
Here's the blurb. The impossibility of time travel, touted by science, is a lie perpetrated by scientists themselves. Quantum scientists are already traveling and manipulating matter across space-time in their experiments, and physical reality is already changing without anyone knowing. Those changes started as subtle and local, but will soon spread through reality's infinite interconnections to become catastrophic. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands, then millions, will soon come to possess an entire new set of memories of the past. Memories that coexist at first alongside their current ones, leading to a whole new destiny and fate that is not their own. But do those new memories recall events that actually occurred? A&E medic Dr. Nathan Carter's memories are of committing countless murders. How can he know if he is innocent or guilty? And how can he know what his reality is anymore? On the run from police, he finds himself the prime suspect in a spate of abductions and serial killings. But he can't plead his innocence when blackouts leave him unable to account for his actions and flashbacks leave him with memories of the crimes. Unknowingly caught up in one of those experiments to manipulate reality by corrupt quantum scientists seeking the unholy grail of controlling matter across space-time, Carter must prove his innocence or guilt before his arrest by the same tenacious veteran detective who questioned him months before when an ex-girlfriend had been found murdered in the same brutal way as the other victims, her violent death only leaving Carter doubting his sanity even more. It's the start of a mind-bending, reality-warping journey to uncover the truth and find out what could have turned him into a killer. Sitting on that unnerving knife-edge fulcrum between science fiction and science fact, Matter of Time questions the very definition of space and time, of life and death, and of physical reality itself. Plus, there's a fair bit of mystery and crime involved in there, I would say. Daniel, thank you very much. Great combination. Here's Daniel's bio. So originally from the UK, Daniel relocated to Australia and has spent the last 15 years living in a small coastal town in Victoria. 10-kilometre stretches of secluded beach to stroll along are perfect for mulling over a comma. Even as an 11-year-old at high school, the need to write was all too evident. The pages of maths exercise books were defaced by dense lines of original lyrics and prose scrawled across solved homework equations, making it difficult for a concerned maths teacher to mark. But as the solutions were correct, it was ultimately decided to say nothing. This is a quote from Daniel. I was oblivious. I didn't even know that I'd written the words. I only found out when I was in my 20s on finding the saved collection of dust-covered exercise books inside a box while helping out in a house move. Daniel did suffer a life-endangering brain aneurysm that threatened to wipe the word and language processing centers of his brain should he survive. But on his recovery, those centers only became more hypersensitized and the words would flow even more so. He's sure there must be some link with those unconscious writing episodes when he was a child, and yeah, chances are. So Daniel's meditation practice is a major driving force in his life, and having chosen a varied path of simultaneous intersecting careers, he's worked as a musician, a songwriter, and an artist manager in the rock music business. And with a keen professional interest in behavioural science, he also works with his highly trained control dogs as a specialist dog handler dedicated to the behavioural modification of highly aggressive canines facing euthanasia. Knowing dogs and becoming one with them at the absolute peaks of their most frightening expressions teaches you stuff, mainly about yourself. Your intuition has to pump hard for prolonged periods without failing. That intuition allows you to know about people too, both the light and dark sides of this fragile human psyche of ours. He uses intuition massively in his writing. So there you go. Fascinating, Daniel.
Everyone's got a story, don't they?
That's it.
Oof. Okay, so swinging around, we've got a memoir. So No Dancing in the Lift by Mandy Sayer. When Mandy Sayer learns of her father Jerry's diagnosis of terminal cancer, she faces a reckoning with past and future as she learns to navigate a precarious present. This is the joyous and nuanced account of her father's later life, his illness, and the beautiful moments, music and memories of earlier times they share. Yet it is also a fearless exploration of inescapable grief and an unfurling story of new love. Most of us will face the death of a cherished parent, and we all know the euphoria of falling in love, but few of us will experience both at the same time. Mandy's clear-eyed memoir is an unforgettable love letter from a daughter to her father and a wife to her husband. No Dancing in the Lift is rich in intimate anecdotes begging to be shared, evocative, funny, uplifting, and heartbreaking. Mandy Sayer writes with a vivacious and lyrical grace. So a bit about Mandy, although it is a memoir, so we've probably discussed some of it. But Mandy Sayer is an award-winning novelist and narrative non-fiction writer. Her honours include the Vogel Award, Mood Indigo, the National Biography Award, and the Australian Audiobook of the Year, Dreamtime Alice, a memoir. The South Australian Premier's Award for Non-Fiction and the Age Book of the Year for Non-Fiction, Velocity, a memoir. and the Davitt Award for Young Adult Fiction, The Night Has a Thousand Eyes. Oh, great title. In 2021, she was the recipient of the Hazel Rowley Literary Fellowship, which supported her research and writing of Those Dashing Madonna Sisters, Australia's first female filmmaking team, 2022. Her work has been published in the US, the UK, Germany, Brazil, Japan, and China. She lives in Sydney with her husband, playwright and author Lewis Nauer.
Fantastic. And No Dancing in the Lift is one of the giveaways in
yay.
our next newsletter. So if you want to win a free copy of that, you better jump onto the Australian Book Lovers website if you're not already a book lover and sign yourself up for our monthly newsletter. I'm getting better at being monthly. I'm going to try and get it out a little earlier
Christmas is
this
a good
year.
time to do it.
This
Free
month,
books.
yes, so that I can get them out to people before Christmas for the November one. Okay, I've got two books from the fabulous Leisa Fail. So this is book one and book two in the adventures of Stormy Normy, and book three will be later, but book one and two, here we go. So book one is Stormy Normy Finds His Forever Home, and this is a middle grade book. Adventure awaits with Stormy Normy. Join the spirited Brumby colt in his quest for a forever home. A tale of resilience and self-discovery for young hearts. Perfect for bedtime tales or independent reading, this captivating first chapter book is a must-read for kids ages 6 and up. Join Stormy Normy as he navigates the challenges of life, from facing abandonment to overcoming bullying and embracing what makes him unique. This inspiring adventure is not just about a colt finding his forever home, but it is also about the universal lessons of resilience, self-discovery, and the importance of being true to yourself. This is a tale that will warm your heart and leave you cheering for Stormy Normy. It's a wonderful blend of adventure and life lessons, and book one in the adventures of Stormy Normy will delight early readers. And it is written by author and horse enthusiast Leisa Fail. That's got charming colour illustrations by Amy Rennie. All right, book two, The Adventures of Stormy Normy and the Tom Quilty Gold Cup, again a middle grade. And this is as he join him as he explores his forever home in Goldsborough Valley, far north Queensland, FNQ, as we like to say in Australia. In this exciting story, Stormy Normy learns about friendship, bravery, and how to work as a team. When his owner, Charlie, sets a big goal of competing in the Tom Quilty Gold Cup, a 160-kilometre endurance ride in one day, the pair starts training. With others questioning Stormy Normy's ability to compete in such an event, self-doubt steps in. But with his new friends by his side, he finds that with hard work and a positive attitude, anything is possible. I agree with you, Stormy. Come on an exciting adventure with the lovable Brumby colt to learn about the power of never giving up. Experience the bonds of love, friendship, and bravery as Stormy Normy and his trusted companion Charlie embrace the sports motto, to complete is to win. Through triumphs and setbacks, Stormy Normy's journey teaches valuable lessons about perseverance, self-discovery, and the true meaning of success. Here's Leisa Fail's bio. She is a graduate in creative writing from Griffith University. Her journey took an exciting turning in 2009 with the arrival of her first horse, the Storm. Together they explored and conquered over 3,000 endurance kilometres. That is amazing. When the Storm retired in 2018, Lisa's dedication to preserving their adventures blossomed into the Adventures of Stormy Normy series. This heartwarming collection not only captures the spirit of the storm, but also imparts valuable lessons of resilience and friendship. Lisa's blend of imagination and passion for horses makes this series a must-read for young minds and horse enthusiasts alike.
Book 5 is Flyboy, Ace Pilot, A Life Cut Short. Flyboy chronicles the life of Parker Joe Hodge, a Royal Australian Air Force pilot who tragically lost his life in the Netherlands East Indies during the World War II. Born in Beechworth, Joe's journey is marked by unwavering determination, exemplified by his persistence through 5 applications before realising his dream of joining Australia's elite Air Force. The narrative offers a vivid portrayal of aviation in Australia and the formative years of the RAAF during a pivotal historical period. Confident, ambitious, and adventurous, Joe seizes every opportunity to travel while advancing through his flying training at Point Cook. Enriched with personal anecdotes and captivating photographs, many captured by Joe himself, the story illuminates Australia's often overlooked campaign in the Netherlands East Indies. This episode, rich in individual acts of bravery, underscores the early vulnerabilities of the British Empire in the Pacific War. Author Peter Hodge's quest to uncover Joe's story becomes a profound exploration of lost family connections and self-discovery. So a bit about Peter. Peter Hodge is an experienced teacher and freelance writer with a passion for exploring global issues. Having taught for 3 years as an Australian volunteer abroad at a rural Zimbabwean mission school, Peter's diverse travel experiences and broad interests inform much of his work. The author of volunteer work overseas for Australians and New Zealanders, 2 editions, Peter has contributed numerous articles to respected publications such as The Age, The Australian, The Guardian, and Eureka Street, often focusing on social justice and international development. More recently, his writing has delved into family history, as seen in the compelling narrative of Flyboy, which seeks to understand personal legacy while uncovering forgotten aspects of the past.
There you go. I have that one on my short list to buy my husband. He loves airplane things and little bits of pieces about the war because his dad was a pilot. Well, he was a pilot, but he was also a navigator.
Oh, wow.
Navigator? No, who's on the radio?
Oh,
Radio operator.
Comsman, yeah.
Comsman, he was the Comsman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, let's look at number 6, which is Exuberance by Bel Vidal, which is a contemporary story. As Sydney gears up for the 2000 Olympics, Angelica Fletcher is ready to rewrite her life. Oh man, I'd love to rewrite my life sometimes, but then sometimes I think, it's okay. Bored with her conventional existence, she conjures up a feisty alter ego, Eleanor. But as Eleanor grows beyond Angie's control, the line between reality and imagination blurs, sending shockwaves through those around her. Angie's husband, Jimmy, scrambles to keep up with her boundless exuberance. Her friend, Sinead, is drawn to her spark, unaware of the darkness beneath. And for her mother, Nora, Angie's wild antics stir up long-buried ghosts. Even Tiger, Jimmy's estranged friend, is swept up in the mayhem. Angie is making the most of her borrowed life, but how long can this last before she discovers who Eleanor really is? With intelligence and sensitivity, this award-winning novel explores the far-reaching effects of mental illness, the transformative power of healing, and the need for balance and authenticity in our lives. Through the impact of those around Angie and her own search for stability, the novel offers a nuanced view of mental illness and the hope that comes with self-understanding. It underscores that an appropriate treatment, community support, and finding the right measure of exuberance, new possibilities can emerge. So there you go. Their bio, here's Bel Vidal's bio, and Bel Vidal is, in fact, the pen name of a Bolivian-Australian writer who since 1988 has called Sydney home. Her works of fiction, non-fiction and poetry have been widely published both in English and Spanish under her pen name, her real name and other pseudonyms. Soon after arriving in Sydney, she was the recipient of an Australia Council, now Creative Australia, grant to publish a bilingual collection of poems and short stories, Acuarios de Sueños, Rainbow of Dreams, and my Spanish is not that great, so apologies, Bel, if that's inappropriate. An earlier draft of her novel Exuberance was shortlisted for the Baruna HarperCollins Award for Manuscript Development and was awarded the 5-day Baruna Awards Residential Masterclass. It was independently published in 2023, followed by her collection short fiction and non-fiction short stories, Tales of Suburban Castaways, in 2024. So Bel has a BA in Communications, majoring in creative writing, and a master's in writing for the media. She works for the non-profit sector as a communications and media professional, using her writing skills towards advocating for positive change. Bel is also a mental health advocate, book lover, film buff, bushwalking enthusiast, keen photographer, designer, adventurous traveller, blogger, and firm believer it's never too late to start something new. I am absolutely with you on that one, Bel.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is our last one for today, Dreamy Days and Random Naps by Mawson, Mark O'Dwyer, and it's a picture book. And I have to say, Random Naps and Dreamy Days, I'm already in. A light-hearted look at the importance of slowing down, indulging in daydreams, and taking a nap. Okay, I'm done. What a great idea. Perfect for every tired daydream believer who just wants a little rest. Could this be you? So the bio for Mawson is a big-hearted, soul-searching writer bear. His books are stuffed with happiness for all ages, from grandchildren to grandparents. His little books are cute, wholesome, and calming. Relax with Mawson and friends. Refresh your soul in the tranquility of innocent hours and simple joys. Mawson helps you to feel deep inside yourself that everything, in the end, is all right.
And he's absolutely beautiful, helped along
Yeah.
by the lovely Mark. All right. Book spotlights. So
Yes,
many, but
so
that
many.
there are 7 of the best
And we have
for this
some
week.
amazing ones in our
Yeah.
list.
Yes, look on the website, see more, check out the features of the week. And sometimes I get those onto social media. Not always, I'm sorry about that, but I do try and do that if I can. And Laurie is excellent at reposting.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, if you are cutting down on your social media, do have a look at the website for gifts. It's coming into the festive season. Books make great gifts. They give people the opportunity to escape and have
Yes,
joyful moments in picture books with their kids, or young adult, or middle age, or adult books for grown-ups sitting on the beach on their
yes,
holidays.
yes. Grow your mind, entertain,
Mm,
escape, educate.
yeah,
Do
love it.
all of that, all of that.
Love it.
Time for us to chat with
Yes.
the absolutely delightful Johan du Toit, who is one of our subscribers as well as being an author. So thank you, Johan. We really
Thank you,
appreciate that. And if
Johan.
you would like to subscribe and give us a little bit of funding to keep the podcast
Postage
going
service.
and keep the postage going. Yes, posted some books off the other day, but anyway, this is good. And oh, yes, I'll tell you about the other books I've got in the giveaway later. I've also already mentioned No Dancing in the Lift. So let's jump into our chat, or my chat, with Johan du Toit. Hello, listeners. I am delighted to have with me Johan du Toit, who is one of our Australian authors. And we're going to be talking a little bit about When Only Today Matters. But first of all, welcome to Johan.
Thank you very much. It's a real privilege to talk to you.
We are pleased that we've made it here. Johan and I were talking before we began a little bit about the twos and fro's of getting to the air, but we're here. So I'm here on Warrung, Wurundjeri country today. Where are you, Johan? Who are your traditional owners?
I'm on Gadigal land in Sydney.
Beautiful. All right. It is a lovely spot. And I dare say it's probably a bit warmer than it is down here, although we've got to the very top of 21 degrees today, but it's not as warm as Sydney, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous day on the harbour. It is quite special.
Yeah, very good. All right. For our listeners, I'm going to read Johann's bio so that you know a little bit about him. So Johan du Toit grew up in a remote community 8 hours drive from Cape Town in South Africa. He immigrated to Australia with his family in 1994. Through membership of a writers group, Johan found the opportunity to write short fiction. His 2 collections, Meandering Road and When Only Today Matters, have been published in collaboration with Broadcast Books. The 8 stories chosen for When Only Today Matters were shaped by Johann's personal journey. The human truth element came from a place of gratitude or a sense that tomorrow may be a better day. There are stories fueled by injustice and frustration, others with the whisper of hope. And I'm sure that we'll have a little bit more to talk about. Let me just share the blurb for our listeners for When Only Today Matters. And it covers such things as homelessness, religion, identity, racial discrimination, apartheid, injustice, hope, and of course, Aussie tales. So, in the story, When Only Today Matters, the corporate lawyer who sacrifices his career and eventually his family is based on a personal experience as a volunteer on Christmas Day at the Wayside Chapel in Sydney's King's Cross. The journey of Rebecca in Shadow of the Flat Top Mountain is a reflection on real life trauma under the apartheid regime in South Africa, the way Johan remembers it. The 8 stories chosen for the collection were shaped by his personal journey. While it always started with a picture, the human truth element came from a place of gratitude or a sense that tomorrow may be a better day. The stories with a whisper of hope include the teenage boy who challenges his father's recollection of history and the goatherd's encounter in the desert with 2 women praying together in spite of a deep religious divide. Then there are stories fueled by injustice and frustration, the student activist whose crime was the colour of his skin, or the young man forced to fight a war he didn't believe in, far from home. Johan has chosen to include his first poem, Hear My Heart Whisper, to close the book, and the poem recalls a childhood in a remote farming community. And listeners, stay tuned to the end of the episode because Johan is going to read some of his work and you'll have a listen, but you have to wait till the end. Because first of all, we're going to say, when did you first start to put pen to paper? When was that first recording of words?
So I had a corporate career. I was in a management role, and I think it was about 20 years ago now. I recall it so clearly. It was on over an Easter weekend. Let's just say it was an Easter Sunday or Monday. I went for a long walk from home down to the Spit Bridge on Middle Harbour. And I thought, oh, it was just a beautiful day. And I thought, oh, life is good. And as I was reflecting, I thought, oh, things are going okay at work. We're a big, happy family, but there's still something missing. And I thought that creative inspiration was probably, by the time I arrived home, I thought, I'm going to just do a little bit of homework. And that's how I ended up at the writer's studio in Bondi under Roland Fishman. And that was the initial course was unlocking creativity. And then I committed to a 12-month first draft novel program at the writer's studio. And that's how it all started. Almost in parallel, a friend invited me to join what was initially just an informal writers group, and it started with a picture. It was actually an oil painting that he saw in a golf club. And he always wondered how this really interesting painting, a visual of a woman in like an evening gown, how it ended up in on the wall of a golf club. Anyway, we all made an attempt to come up with our interpretation of what may the story be behind this painting, and that's how it started. So ever since then, we've been averaging 4 or 5 short stories a year, and we've been going for about 17, 18 years now. So initially, that's where these stories were first created in much shorter form, and I dare say maybe they've improved substantially over the years since I've been working with an editor on developing them further. But that's the background to how I became a part-time writer until I retired in 2020, and I could dedicate all my time. And since 2020, I've been able to publish the 2 books, Meandering Road first, and now When Only Today Matters.
That's brilliant. Being somebody who started creative writing later, when I was at school, I used to do some, but then again, same as you, a career ended up in management and all sorts of different things. But it wasn't until I thought, yeah, I've got a fantastic family, I've got good friends, my life is good. But yeah, there's just that little creative kernel that says, but you haven't watered me for 40 years. So plant those seeds, and before you know it, you've got a poppy field full of stories ready to be shared.
Indeed. And I'd say recently, since retirement,
Mm.
I love becoming just a student again. I have done much more reading. I engage in, online programs. I subscribe to LitHub and Craft and a few other American web-based literary sites. So it's become quite a full and rounded creative experience, and I'm loving it.
Hmm. Tell me what you've learned about writing over the period that you have been. You mentioned the help of an editor, and I think they are worth their weight in gold. So I'm with you on that one. But if you were to look back at your early works and now at the things that you're writing, what do you think have been the biggest lessons for yourself?
The first night I went to the writer's studio in Bondi, it was in midwinter, and it was unusually cold and miserable for Sydney. And I
Mhm.
arrived early, pardon me, on the ground floor was organic health food store, organic food store, and I had
Mhm.
time to spare. So I got myself a hot chocolate. It was an organic hot chocolate, and I
Of
walked
course.
up the stairs at the back of the building to the writer's studio. And at the top of the stairs, there was just a handwritten poster. And the poster said, "Writing is what writers do." And I'll never ever forget that for as long as I live. So maybe the short answer to the question you pose is that it won't happen unless you commit. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to find that discipline and stay with that discipline. I probably between Monday and Friday, 4 days a week, I do at least 6 hours a day, and then sometime over the weekend. But I know that um, once I approached it almost as it was very task orientated. I didn't just sit around the house waiting for some inspiration. It only happens when you sit down and you do the work, and that's been my experience. And I would, without hesitation, suggest to aspirant writers that you have to commit.
Persistence, indeed. And how much is your career prior to writing, the discipline of managing and all of those kind of things, how much do you think that has contributed to your habits for writing now?
Yeah, I think so, and also that it's I don't sit down in with a scattered brain. There's sort of a method to what I want to achieve today. Most of these stories, for me, the priority has been character and place. So I would
Mhm.
invest significant time in making sure that I know my character, understand my character, who the antagonist may be, but a strong focus on place. Um, in fact, when Only Today Matters, at that time when the story started developing beyond just the short story, because it's probably about a novella length in this book,
Mhm.
I joined the writers' room in Sydney, um, and for a monthly fee, there was a desk available, and there were other writers in, every day, all day, sometimes into the night. And I used to just take the ferry across the harbour, put my laptop down, and with my phone and a notebook, walk the streets of Sydney. Um, on routes that I would typically imagine this character would have spent his days on the street as a homeless man. And after about 3 or 4 weeks, I felt I was so ready to to progress to the individual scenes in the book because I had a really good sense of place, and as a result of the environment that he would find him in and some of the characters he may encounter. So character and place.
Yeah, very strong. It sounds almost like the acting thing where they jump into the character as well. And Sydney is so full of, it being Melbourne, I'll try not to be competitive, but Sydney is lovely in that it's so full of little alleys and history of the colonizers and those kind of things that the buildings themselves have memories, I think.
Yeah, indeed, and as you know, in Redfern, we still have a very beautifully contained Indigenous community, and I don't think one should ever take for granted, or you can get tired of the magic of Redfern and what it means in a so close to the center of the city. Um,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, on the fringes of that, there's a lot to experience.
Yeah. From your childhood in South Africa, obviously, and coming out to Australia in the late 90s, tell me, what did you bring, or what brought you out to Australia? And what do you think that's brought to your writing? And obviously, some of your stories are based in that earlier world.
Yeah, the motivation for immigration, I think, is pretty well documented for many people of that era. In a nutshell, we had a very small family. It was a very unsettling time, um, and we had an opportunity to. It was initially a job opportunity, a career opportunity, um, and I just loved it from day one. And I think one of the attractions that have crept into the writing is just the sense that so many people is from somewhere else.
Hmm.
You hear so many different voices, uh, and I love that. I think it's a it's a really interesting landscape to live in and to work in. And I'm not suggesting Sydney is any different to Melbourne or any other. So I'm looking at Australia in totality. And it is the diversity uh, and the acceptance that such a large percentage of people are from somewhere else. And having
Mm.
said that, I think it has also uh, created a sincere interest in Indigenous culture and what's gone before, um, and an awareness and sometimes a frustration with uh, injustice and discrimination. There's a story in When Only Day Matters, which is called The History Lesson. And I, as a migrant, honestly, it's probably the story I'm most proud of. That I was, that story. I can't imagine where that story came from. Well, I know where the story came from in terms of the context of what was going on, or what I heard around me and what was happening in the media. Uh,
Hmm.
but the character being a 12-year-old boy, uh, maybe was at least partly inspired by the fact that we have 4 grandchildren now, and and I hear what they come home with from school, and that's partly inspired that story. So I feel it's a true Australian story, and I'm really proud of that story as a
Mm.
migrant.
Mm, fantastic. So many of your stories that, as we mentioned in the blurb, there are some really deeply emotional themes that are there. But tell me about what you think the main messages are, because we do send some things along, and I like that you mention about there always being a whisper of hope. So despite, or because of, or as well as all of the other things that are going on in your stories, for you, there's always a whisper of hope.
Yeah, I think it was the editor, Benedict Foley, who pointed out what she actually asked me in, I think it was during the editing of the first book, Meandering Road. She asked me, whether I was aware of the fact that virtually all the stories leave the reader with a question rather than an answer. And to be honest, I wasn't aware of that. It wasn't something that I'd done consciously. But clearly that was the way I wanted to tell the story. It's never a complete story. And I think the notion of these stories don't really have happy endings, or sometimes not an ending at all. There are always possibilities. And When Only Today Matters is actually in the first book as a much, much shorter story.
Mm-hmm.
A mutual friend who was a writer and a scriptwriter, an author and a scriptwriter, read those stories, and he called me one night out of the blue. I was flattered to say that he thought the story about the corporate lawyer who became a homeless man is, I've only scratched the surface of that story. I need to explore that further. And I'd done that, and I still think I ended up with a question rather than a happy ending, although it's a longer story. So whether that answers your question, but
it does a little, yeah. Why the short form of fiction? What made you, or what has given you that as mostly the vehicle for your stories? Because I think that short fiction and leaving people with a question or options, that is the skill of a short story writer, is to make us wonder or want more.
in fairness, it was somewhat determined or dictated by the membership of the writers group, because there was a word count. There's a word count
Yep.
for every round. So only after one side decided to explore some of the stories further without the limitation of the word count,
Yep.
was I able to develop some of the characters more fully, and maybe added some interesting dimensions to their life's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I wrote within the discipline of a writers group where the word count, I think initially was 1,000 words, and they may allow a few more now. You've heard the old story about it takes a long time to write a short story, and I
Yes.
think it is so true when you actually commit to doing that. And
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the concept of flash fiction, which I know is very much sort of driven maybe out of the US by US publishers and US writers. And yeah, to write that in 200 words is significantly more challenging.
Yes, indeed. My co-presenter, Laurie Bell, is a great flash fiction writer, and she does a Friday prompt. She's part of a group and trying to put, the short words together. And I did love to see on the social media sometimes they'll put out a prompt, and I think the Australian Writers Centre even did a few for a little while. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a skill, isn't it? I know that Laurie says it forces you into telling the story succinctly and to cutting away all of the extraneous things that are in your mind but don't move the story forward.
Yeah, indeed. So there's one story in the first book, in Meandering Road, which essentially is a letter from a French photographer to his partner. And it ended up substantially shorter than the first draft that I submitted to the writers group, and it's called Confession. And when I look at it now, I would one of the little side projects that I'll undertake is to write that in 200 words, because it's still too long for a person on his deathbed, I feel.
Ah.
but but it was a significant challenge to get it down to what is the shortest story across the two books.
Fantastic. And are you at the other end tempted to write a full-length book?
I am now. I'm very committed. I started a project which I guess I would loosely describe as historical fiction / memoir, um, and it covers a few of the questions you asked me earlier about the transition from uh, South Africa to Australia. And by way of example, I was in a family that opposed the apartheid regime my whole life. And then when Nelson Mandela was eventually released, uh, as a family, we decided to move, which seemed so unusual considering the road we traveled to that point. And then add to that a very personal story about my childhood. So, yeah, I think I'm interested in historical fiction, but particularly how it could potentially relate to being partly memoir. So I've started, and it's yeah, it's quite liberating. There's no word count issue. I'm just continuing to write. When I go for morning walks, often I have to stop along the way, take my phone, and make notes and record some thoughts in my notes. So the story is growing as time goes by. So I have no deadline. I'll keep writing. I'll probably go maybe for the next year and see where that takes me to a really rough first draft. And then I'll show it to somebody else and decide what next.
Yeah, very good.
So that's where I'm at.
That's the big project in the background or in the sideline. Are you still attending the writers' room, and do you still keep up with your writers' group?
I have decided the writers group. I feel I've run my race there, only because I don't want to be distracted by the short fiction, and I really want to focus on what I'm doing now. The writers' room, absolutely. The only consideration for me is our children have moved on, so we're still in the family home, and I can't deny that I have private space. So the writer's room is, whilst it's an interesting and inspirational environment, it's good to interact with other writers. I can't really use lack of space or privacy as an excuse for going to do that. So maybe in the second half of next year, just for a change of environment. But yeah, so I feel I've moved, I've grown beyond the short stories, and I really want to focus on the historical fiction / memoir.
What do you read when you're reading fiction or nonfiction? What are your favorite genres to read?
I read mainly fiction, and I find that I read I'm just inspired by a cross section of Australian and international authors. I recently, a few weeks ago, finished Stonyard Devotional, the Charlotte Wood novel, and at the moment I'm reading. I think it's called The Land in Winter by a British author. It was shortlisted in the Booker. I just recently started reading that. Like so many or most others, I do have favorites. I've read probably every Paul Auster, the American author, every book he had written. I love reading Helen Garner. I just can't get enough of the storytelling. The latest book about the grandson and his AFL career or his footy career. Richard Flanagan. I think question 7 was probably partly fiction, partly non-fiction. Most of those books just ended up being such inspiration to keep going, and you admire what they're doing, but those books never leave you without the inspiration to try harder, to keep going.
Yes, yeah.
So a good cross section of Australian and international voices, and I'm not too much into crime, to be honest. I don't read many, if any, crime thrillers.
That is absolutely okay.
Yeah, I do. I am inspired by, sometimes it feels to me that what appears to be the lives of ordinary people until you discover more.
Yeah, my son is very much like that. He loves a biography or a memoir, or just the writings of anyone who's done something, that's interesting or different or extraordinary or ordinary, that is willing to share their story. So yeah, it's good.
Claire Keegan, the Irish author, she's written so many novella-length stories. Every one of them left me inspired, but also feeling quite inadequate. Just the beautiful way in which she tells the story. She was, I think, a few years ago, she was one of the featured writers at the Melbourne and Sydney Writers Festivals. We were fortunate to go along to the launch evening.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So right.
And what about as a child? Go ahead.
So
sorry, interrupted.
interesting. Yeah. So the interesting part of my background, and that may not be obvious, or maybe it is that I grew up in an Afrikaans home, no English at all. So English was basically taught as a second language at school. So most of the books I read until I was a teenager would have been in Afrikaans. Some of them translated, but the majority from South Afrikaans authors. And then as I grew a bit older, I discovered Roald Dahl, and it all changed when I met my wife, who's an English-speaking South African, and we just felt that I would benefit from improving my English, and she preferred to speak English, and so gradually I transitioned to being an English-speaking person. Having just been in Cape Town, I picked up a book by an South African author. I'll pronounce the name in Afrikaans. Her name is Antjie Krog. And she would have been from Dutch descent. She's become a very successful, a well-known author around the world. And a lot of her work has been translated into European languages. Anyway, I bought the book at the bookshop, and I just couldn't put it down. It's written in English, but it brought back such vivid memories of, growing up in another language. And Afrikaans is sort of interesting. Most people think it's Dutch. It's almost a perfect blend of Dutch and French. So it is quite descriptive. Yeah, so it's around the house as well, and responded to your question about what I read as a child, but it was influenced by the mother tongue and home language for so long.
Yeah, very good. Perhaps I should have asked, what does your wife read, and did she encourage you to any particular English authors?
She is a member of a book club and they've been going for 32 years. And
there we go.
yeah, they do read a good cross section. Often I introduce her to Claire Keegan as writing. She's not as she doesn't feel as rewarded as I do by Paul Auster, by way of example. So mainly fiction, but compared to me, she reads more non-fiction than I do. She's quite interesting in some celebrities, and she's still a subscriber to Vanity Fair. She receives a hard copy every month, and
there you go.
Yeah. So we have some reading in common, but not exclusively.
There you go. So what would your advice be for a new or aspiring author? What would you suggest to them?
As we suggested earlier, I'm sure I just feel through my own experience, there's an author in more of us than what we realize. So many of my friends my adult friends who've, sort of maybe were part of my career in management and in business, they quite in awe of these books, and they say, "Can't believe that you've done this," and we could never do that. I could never write fiction. This sort of you often hear, but I just come back to what we discussed briefly earlier: is that if you feel the inspiration, you need to make the commitment. I just think that there's no other way than, as the poster at the writer's studio in Bondi suggested, writing is what writers do. And sometimes, as you know from your own experience, it's painful and it's frustrating. But there's probably it's a wonderful reward when you come through the pain, when suddenly you've discovered either an aspect of the character's life or a new character in When Only Today Matters. In the story, there's a character that presents himself about a third of the way through the book, and I didn't know he was going to be there. I didn't see him coming at all. Yeah. And that character ends up having a really profound impact on the journey of the main character. And without the character, I would not have been able to write the book. But the only way I arrived at that, one morning when I committed to it, I said, well, it's 9:00. I have to start now. On one of those days, I discovered this character, Benny, another homeless man who ends up having a profound impact on the life of the main character.
So let it happen. Create the habits, but let the creativity inspire you as you're in.
Yeah, and I think the beauty for me is that, and it's probably not exclusively, it's not restricted to writing fiction, but it can happen at any time. I think I love.
Yes.
I'll never leave home without my phone, just in case. And you can never explain afterwards where that came from. But it's really nice to sit down on the side of the road and spend 15 minutes recording a thought, either about a character or maybe a piece of dialogue that's come into your mind, to try and record it, not to miss out on that. I would say and you probably have found the same, It is selfish. It's a selfish endeavor. I do sometimes feel for the people uh, close to writers and to authors. Uh, my wife is terribly patient and understanding, but she also loves the good conversations. I know how hard it is for her to walk past that closed door when she just wants to tell me something. Or but it is selfish, and uh, I find, or she points out, that I'm often distracted in a conversation.
The story's happening in your head. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
So it does sort of become a complete life. It's all of you. It's not like getting up, having a shower, jump jump on the bus or the ferry, you go to the office and you come home 10 hours later after a day's work, and you can leave that, most often you can leave that behind. I think particularly if you're dealing with either a fork in the road or with a new character that presented him or herself in your main character's life. It stays with you all day. It's quite difficult to let go.
Yes,
But
it is indeed. Yeah.
yeah, but then the other end of that can be very rewarding.
Yes. Especially when somebody gets your character, they will give you some feedback about a particular character's traits or just imagine something. And when you get that feedback, it's absolutely delightful.
Well, it is. I may have mentioned, no, I haven't. A friend of mine who is very successful in investment banking. He came to the book launch at the Harry Hartog store in Mawson, and I didn't see him again immediately afterwards. And maybe about 3 weeks later, it was on a Sunday, late morning, I received a text message from him. And he said, I'm lying on my couch at home and I've just finished reading When Only Today Matters. And my wife has come into the room and she found me sobbing like a child. Yeah. And I was just amazed, A, that it came from him, but that the story evoked such a strong emotive response. And what I didn't understand at the time is that he actually saw himself in that position. That there must have been a time in his life, in his career, when he came close to chucking it all in and walking away. Um, yeah, so when you receive a response like that, it's more than motivation to keep
Oh
going.
yeah.
You
Oh
just,
yeah. That's the gold, isn't it? When you get something like that.
yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So Johan, where can people find you online, or where can they get your books from? Where's the best place?
Okay, so I have a website which is just www.johandutoit.com.au. I had to add the AU. Background to both books, my personal background's on the website, but it will also link you to hard copy and ebook versions of both books.
Mm-hmm.
And the Harry Hartog store in Mossman still carries both copies when we launched the latest book. But that's essentially the place to start. So I think the hard copy link is to Booktopia, and the ebook link would be to Amazon.
Fantastic. And of course, you can see it on Australian Book Lovers on the contemporary page. So if you're looking for a shortcut, and you can get a link to Johan's various other connections there as well. So Johan du Toit, thank
I'm
you
very
so much for
grateful.
sharing. Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for you having done that. I really appreciate that. I have uh, an Instagram profile which is just Johan du Toit, author. That's all it is, one word.
Fantastic. All right. So stay with us. I'm going to say thank you to Johan, and we'll skip back to Laurie and myself. But at the end of this episode, Johan's going to read us a little from some of his work. So thank you very much, and good luck with that full-length novel that is lurking in the background.
Thank you so much. And it was really good to talk to you today.
Thank you, Johan.
Yes.
It was just such a
What
lovely
an
chat to
amazing
talk
chat.
books and, talk about, the change in retirement, once he retired, and the fact that people were impressed with him publishing a book. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
an impressive thing to do, is
It's
to write and publish
and
short
it's a lot of
stories.
work. And listening
Yeah.
to him talking about the writer's room and being able to go in and actually explore those skills and have the chance to write your short stories
Yeah.
in a location that's outside of home and something a bit different and give you the opportunity to chat with other writers, I think
Yep.
is fantastic. And of course,
Yeah.
I love a good flash fiction short story
Yes.
chat. So it was wonderful listening to Johan talking about that. And
Yeah.
he's right, that flash fiction, and I had a quote from here, oh, that inspiration can hit anywhere. You can be walking down the street, ideas will come to you. Always have a notebook handy, always
Yeah.
jot down your little bits and pieces. And that, of course, flash fiction is concise. It's hard to cut back. It takes practice. And actually, I'll throw in a few little how-tos. So with flash fiction, start in the middle. Don't use too many
Oh.
characters. So these are some little tips and hints. Make sure the ending isn't the end. Sweat your
Mm.
title, and I'm terrible at that because your title is almost a part of your flash fiction short story. It really sets the mood. Make your last line ring like a bell, which when
Mm.
you nail that, there's such joy in the fact that you'll have responses with, oh, great last line. That's what I love. I love getting a great last line comment. And also write long, then go short. It
Mm.
is, as it's always said, it's easier to cut back if you've actually got the words in front of you rather than a blank page. But it can be really hard to cut back if you've gone too long. So it
Yes.
is a skill that you do need to practice. And so it was great listening to Johan
Yeah.
talking about that. So those are my little tips being a flash fiction writer. And I also grabbed those from The Guardian, How to Write Flash Fiction, which is a great little
Wow.
step-by-step. Here are some things to keep in mind. And it was funny when Johan did say feeling inadequate when reading someone's work.
Yes.
Every time. I completely relate to that comment. And yet I reread some of my short stories because I needed to tweak something in my doc, and they don't suck. They actually are pretty good. So don't feel inadequate is, I
Good.
guess, my comment is you can't compare to where you're at to where other writers and readers are at
No,
because you get better.
you do.
Practice helps.
Practice does help, and flash fiction is an excellent way to get that happening.
It really is.
Yeah.
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 Just
Good.
teaches you to use your words.
Use your words,
Use
indeed.
your
Thank
words.
you to Johan. And
Yes.
talking about using my words, I've reached across and got the books that are for our giveaway
Sure.
in November, and I might actually have a bit more. So we've got Cobra Pose on audiobook, which is lovely, by the
Lovely.
fabulous Susan Rogers and John Rusin. But we've also got No Dancing in the Lift by Mandy Sayer, a memoir, which is good. Transit Lounge have given us The Maskies, which is a small Australian town, the story of an outlaw family. So 4 books, and I'm tossing up, I've still got a whole stack over there, whether to put a couple more into that. But you'll know if you jump onto the Australian Book Lovers website, go to the Book Lovers page, sign up for the newsletter with the hundreds of other bodies, and you could be one of the winners.
Yes.
You could be one of the winners. And it also gives you the chance to have a look at a whole lot more books that we don't have time to share on the podcast because we do writers' rooms, and love doing that. But anyway, there you go. So that
So many
is the next one.
books.
So many
Yes.
books.
Yes.
Time for a quote.
Yay. Well, I thought I'd go with a bit of short story flash fiction around that angle because why not? So Edgar Allan Poe. A short story must have a single mood and every sentence must build towards it. Which I thought,
There you go.
Yep.
That is.
yep,
Because if you get too complicated, it just, it's not working.
it's a short story, peeps. It's
Explore
short.
one thing. Yes. All right. Beautiful. Thank you, E.A. Poe. I've got a quote from Toni Morrison, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1993, an American writer. The ability of writers to imagine what is not the self, to familiarize the strange, and mystify the familiar is the test of their power.
Yep.
So I thought, familiarize the strange and mystify the familiar is the test of their power. Yeah, imagine what is not the self.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how many times have you heard a reader say, "Oh, I really related to this character"?
Yes.
And it doesn't matter the book, could be sci-fi, could be fantasy, could be contemporary, and yet you'll still have, "Oh, I related so much to that." It shows the skill of a writer creating characters, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Toni Morrison, fabulous writer,
Oh, amazing.
whose name, in fact, was Chloe Anthony Wofford, Toni Morrison. Yeah, and she won the Nobel Prize in 1993, so that's good.
Brilliant.
There you go.
There you go.
And Pulitzer Prize and more. Anyway, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
My goodness, I think we've reached the end.
I think we have reached the end. And if you're an author and you want your book on the website, jump on and go to the 4 authors, enter your book and all the details there, and I'll get them up on the website as soon as I can.
And stay tuned for a little bit of a reading by Johan of his book. So
which is a little
stick
excerpt.
around for a little bit longer after we sign off.
Hang in there. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yes. And what do we need to remember?
Oh, yes. Read
more Aussie
Aussie books. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
So this is an extract from the story When Only Today Matters, which is the feature story in the book with that title. I'm going to read from a chapter with a subhead of The Soup Kitchen on Sussex Street. Word of mouth is how you learn about a decent feed. That's how I discovered the Soup Kitchen on Sussex Street at the end of another day of aimless walking. It's a bitterly cold night with soft but persistent rain, and I'm wet through to my underpants. When I sit down with a bowl of spicy tomato soup on the cement veranda, Benny, who I recognize from Arthur's mob outside Central Station, squeezes into a dry spot next to me, within touching distance of the gas heater. After slurping the last drop of soup from his bowl, he wipes his mouth with the sleeve of his pale blue knitted jumper. I offer to take the bowls back inside to the serving table, but Benny says, "Nah, mate, relax. There'll be enough for a second helping." I love Benny's brutal honesty. Sitting close to the heater, he does all the talking. I must have shown a hint of disinterest, probably staring past him, because he asked, "Hey, are you with me or am I boring you?" Benny doesn't wait for an answer and proceeds to tell me that life on the street started when he was 10 years old. It was a whole lot better than at home, where his parents hardly acknowledged his existence. They were pissed and fighting most of the time. A sex worker in King's Cross, much younger than his mother, offered him a blanket and something to eat the night he climbed through his bedroom window. That was the first time someone reached out to me without a slap across the face. I just needed to get away to a safe place. I didn't expect such kindness. People like Benny are keen to share their life stories. When I watch the telltale closely, their eyes often look more dead than alive. But there's something different about Benny. His deep brown eyes invite me to make contact, and his eyes smile at me. I sense it's my turn, my story to tell. I don't talk about my childhood, not a mention of my mother or Trevor Cleary. Just the final chapter, struggling at work before I turn my back on my family. Benny's response to my sorry tale is abrupt, as if he could sense my discomfort. Mate, you're now with people who understand you. So that was the meeting at the soup kitchen. I'll just pick up the story a little bit later. On a weekday afternoon, I rest in a small park near a swing and seesaw for little one. A girl with a blonde ponytail lifts her younger brother onto the seesaw. When she gets on, the young fellow is too light and he is stuck in midair. It's only a few meters from where I'm sitting on the bench, so I walk over and offer to help. While pushing down one end of the seesaw, I notice the folds on the boy's chubby arms. For a moment, I enjoy the fondest memory of Chloe as a toddler. My helping hand is interrupted when the mother shouts, "Annabelle, Jamie, come back here right now." I'm shocked by the panic in her voice. She grabs the hands of her two children. I watch as they cross the road and then walk through the gate of a ground floor townhouse. I remain standing at the seesaw. My embarrassment fades away to sadness. And I'll just finish up with the last little piece. This is an interaction between David Anderson and his daughter, Chloe. On the path leading to the opera house, we stopped to buy ice cream from a young man with a card under a blue and white striped umbrella. We find a bench facing the harbour where we sit licking our vanilla ice cream from cones. Is this the way it's going to be, Dad? Chloe's question is not in a demanding tone. I know exactly what she means. With your help, it feels that I'm putting my life together, slowly, one stitch at a time. She laughs and she says, "That's lovely. I mean the stitch part." We finish our ice creams in silence, watching a ferry cross the expanse of calm water. Chloe has an early afternoon rehearsal at the Sydney Theatre Company. I promised Nonna to be at the pie shop to help with the lunchtime rush. We decide on the shorter route back to my place along Macquarie Street. With her longer stride, as I'm a step behind. At the Bridge Street intersection, as we wait for the lights to change, Chloe points out the reflection of the morning sun from the glass and steel towers. She doesn't say anything. I wonder what's going through her mind right now. Perhaps she's thinking, how is it possible that a man can come down from those heights to a life on the street? I feel Chloe's closeness and the urge to take her hand.
Let's meet again, where magic happens.